Do you, as a runner, trust your race day to an online training plan? For Berlin, I wrote a plan, downloaded a free plan, and bought a plan. And I was pretty surprised by what I found. And before we get on with the actual training of the week, let me tell you what I put into the apps so that they get a better idea and give me as realistic a plan as possible. I told them I want to train 4 days a week because I know anything more than that, generally my legs start to struggle. I also had to give the kind of level that I'm at, and I also said intensity is no problem, but here was where it got interesting. You see, whereas the plan that we used, that I wrote, allowed me to estimate a finishing time that I want to aim towards of 2:39, Garmin allowed me to do the same thing. Runner didn't. Runner doesn't let you put a goal time. It made me put the most current time that I've run for any distance, and then it predicted my time. So I put down, I ran a 10k a couple of weeks ago in 37:24, and it predicted me about a 2:48 to 2:56 marathon, which is of course about 10 minutes slower than I want to aim for. But if I was a newer runner, I would follow that advice because it wants me to be realistic, right? I have heard that the Runner AI does change during your sessions based on the paces that you're running and kind of resets that goal marathon time. And is that all part of the murky side of all of this, that link between Strava and Runner that I'm going to talk about later? So what did the intensity across the 3 different plans in my week look like? Well, let's have a little look, shall we? What was suggested for me. Now, I know what I suggested for me, but we'll also see what Garmin and what Runner suggested for me and how they suggested it. So our session is 15km lactate threshold, which includes a warm-up and a cool-down, but crucially, 6 reps of 1600 meters at our threshold heart rate, not a pace. Garmin's 9.4 kilometers, including 3 reps of 1800 meters, but that was a pace aim of between 342 and 357 a kilometer. And Runner gave us 10 kilometer total with 5 times 1 kilometers at a pace of 325 to 345 per kilometer, or when you toggle it, a feel of 8 out of 10. Here's the differences between what I've been suggested for today and in terms of what I think is the important stuff. All of the plans have kind of obviously given me lactate threshold work. Garmin's given me 1800 repeats, Runner kilometer repeats, and I've given myself 1600. We do all of those sessions. But where I think the biggest difference is we've given ourselves 15 kilometers overall. Garmin's given us 9.4 and Runner's given us 10k, so that's like a 5 kilometer difference right there. Oh, look at Mary warming up, doing a proper warm-up. So while we're just about to go, the main difference really is the amount of intensity we're doing in the sessions. Whereas we've planned for 15k but 6 reps of 1600 meters, which is like 9.6 kilometers of volume. The Garmin plan is 3 reps of 1800 and the Runner plan is 5 reps of a kilometer. So that's 5.4k and 5k in comparison to our 9.6k. But even that is not the thing that most bothers me. This bit I'm about to do is the thing that most bothers me. I'm not actually going to talk much while I do this bit because it's going to send my heart rate sky high, so I'm going to Squid Game it and dub for you. What winds me up a little bit is that the best runners are the ones who can eventually feel the pace, effort and heart rate working with each other. They need to train at this, so leaving out heart rate goals misses a third of the jigsaw. Pace can be affected by so much like heat, fatigue, elevation, illness. You just can't rely on it, nor can you rely on feel alone. There's more to it, they all work together. Oh, and here's the problem I have with training on pace. That was controllable, that first rep. I was in the right pace range, in the right heart rate range, but come reps 4, 5 or 6, in this heat, or let's say I was in lots of elevation, that heart rate is going to go higher, and one of 2 things are going to happen. You're going to go above the heart rate you should do for a lactate threshold session, or you're going to get slower and feel really demotivated by that. Whereas if we train on heart rate, one thing is going to happen. We're going to stick to where we know we need to be heart rate wise, which for me is high 170s, low 180s. All 6 reps, regardless of pace, regardless of feel, are going to be of the quality I need, and they're going to train the lactate threshold, which is what I need. I've got to go again now.
Happy with that after last week.
On heart rate?
Yeah, heart rate and
good, Good pace.
Pace was quicker than expected, so
Good.
happy.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Oh, and as sweet as that session was, and it was sweet,
Oh, it was a good one.
that was just a session in isolation, and I'm really interested in what the apps had planned for me in terms of the entire week and the entire training cycle. So the week in total gave us 63 kilometers from our plan, 64.5 kilometers from the Garmin plan, and a much more modest 47 kilometers from the runner plan. Ours and Garmin included strength and conditioning, and the runner plan can do this, I just didn't see the option. Whereas the human plan focuses on heart rate zones for the runs, with a long run of a half marathon keeping it in zone 2 heart rate, the Garmin plan is time and pace based, as in run for 1:55 at around 5 minutes a kilometre, and runner is pace and feel based, as in run 20 kilometres at an RPE of 5 out of 10, and it should take anywhere between 1 hour 30 and 1 hour 40. So all slightly different, but they're not a million miles off. Alright, let's start with the similarities. What I really liked was that the mileage, the distance overall over the week, it's not a million miles away from each other, although I'd say that runner is a fair bit less than the Garmin and the human plan. And also all of those plans had an element of intensity in terms of a threshold run, which I would definitely recommend for a marathon training plan, certainly if it's not your first. What I liked about the runner plan is if that you didn't like the pace that it prescribed you, there's a toggle and you can switch it to RPE, which is feel, and then it's saying run this distance at 8 out of 10 rather than at this pace, which is quite good for reasons I'll go into in a little bit. But while I have a quick break, let's just talk about the differences as I see them. And the first one is pace. So the runner plan, it gives you a distance to run, like the human plan, but it says then based on a pace, run it at this pace. And the Garmin plan has a time to run based on this pace that you have to run. Whereas if you take, for example, this country that I live in, there is no way you can run at these prescribed paces without blowing up. Or what if you live in a really hilly place? Paces are not pure for so many reasons, like even tiredness after work. So for the human plans, we see you have the distance to run and then a heart rate to run at, because that's so pure. It doesn't matter about whether it's hilly. It doesn't matter about how hot it is. So that's what I like about training to heart rate, is because heart rate gives you a good indication of what's going on the inside. And also, let's be honest, a human plan by a human coach is hopefully, if it's a good one, going to help you understand why you're doing everything that you're doing rather than just prescribing you particular workouts. You want to know the background to it all and then some. There also doesn't appear to be function for cross training. Bit of a side note, but what if I wanted to do something like this within my training? Obviously for me as a triathlete before runner, I know how and when to fit it in. I know the distances to do, the intensities to cycle at, but that might not be the case for everybody, and the plans certainly didn't seem to have a way to factor that in organically anyway. I'm sure you could probably put it in. That's the thing, you see, I know my legs can't take 5 days of running, but I do know I can do 4 days of running and 2 cycling as long as I fit it in properly. Because given the right set of circumstances, cross training can be a superpower. It doesn't have to be just when you're injured. This is certainly one of the reasons I got a PB in Chicago, was my ability to cross train and not overdo the running, but make sure I'm smashing the training. Oh, you know what? And as it happens, that was exactly what the brain and the body needed today. I just needed to feel like I'm doing something else, that I've finished teaching, I have some freedom. So this is my last hit at the Happy Healthy Bike Lane for probably quite some time, to be honest with you, as we're moving to Phuket. And that you can't get in those running plans. And you know what? We haven't even touched on the AI elements that are baked into these apps. Like, let's take, for example, let's have a look at my Garmin run now. So the run that I've just done, if we load this up, I'll put it here on Garmin, it's going to tell you probably, because I've never changed them, that I was running in a different zone to where I was actually running, because that is the guesstimate of my zones. And don't even get me started on Garmin's lactate threshold prediction for me and its VO2 max prediction. They're not far off, by the way, but there is absolutely no way you know this stuff without testing in a lab. And then perhaps the darkest for me is the Strava run race time predictions, as in, this is what my race time predictions looked like before I went for a run. I'm not sure if they changed after the run, but what I do know is that none of these race times are anywhere near what I know I'm capable of running even now, so they are a lot slower. But look, just underneath, it's okay. There's a training plan that you could follow to get faster. Oh, it just feels a bit uncomfortable. There are some pretty simple solutions to overcome these issues and make sure you're doing the right things. To get your training zones without having to do a lab test, you need to do an all-out effort. And depending on your pace, it could be a 5k, a 30 minutes, or a 10k. And I've linked a video at the end of this video to give you more information and help you. Then you've got much better heart rate data than these apps can even estimate. But you need a good heart rate monitor, and I'd recommend either a chest strap or an arm strap over the one that's on your watch. And what about your metrics like VO2 max? To be honest, unless you go get these tested in a lab, I'd take it for what it is, a guesstimate. It's often not too far off, but I wouldn't rely on it. And it's the same with the watch estimate lactate threshold. You can get that from a lab test, but don't rely on what your watch tells you. To be honest, the zone setting we just talked about, that's the best way to estimate it all. And what about your estimated race times? Well, this is the one I think is the most backwards. To pick a time and train at that pace from the start is just not realistic. You can't say you're aiming for a sub 3 hour marathon and then immediately start running those paces in training. Nor can you say where you're at now and then have an app predict your time. Although I understand that can be helpful to newer runners at least. A far better solution is to have a time in mind, but train on heart rate and feel and let them slowly come together over the training cycle. My goal marathon pace is 3:45 a kilometre, and do you think I started the 18 weeks running that pace? Hell no! I ran to the right heart rate zones and feel, and I've let the pace reduce naturally over time. As we said, too much affects pace. It's like heat, fatigue, elevation, but heart rate is heart rate, and it means the correct things are happening on the inside regardless of your pace. But the thing I honestly think that's missing from the apps and plans online is the guidance from a human to be able to do this and to feel secure. And finally, what about the overall look and feel of the three plans? Probably should touch on that. Just for info, my plan and the runner plan have a good solid build, with mine topping out at around 90 kilometers a week and a long run of 35k, and runner is 69 kilometers a week and a 32 kilometer long run. Sadly, you can't see more than a week ahead on Garmin, which I think is a major flaw because people want to see what is ahead. Where runner has written explanations on sessions, I think the main difference between what I think and what runner does is that they suggest focusing on pace and using heart rate as a secondary measure. I disagree, and I think heart rate is king, and you can learn how it matches to pace and feel over the training cycle. But it isn't my way or the highway, it is each to their own. It's just my opinion. Ultimately, these are the conclusions that I've drawn. I'm not stupid enough to think that AI isn't going to play a role in my life and many people's lives moving forwards, and certainly when it comes to running and online training plans and apps, it is probably the way forwards for the vast majority of people. I guess it's like this. Things like the free plans and the runner plans, they get people in the door en masse, and that's great. The more people in running, the better. And as you go through this process, as you have a thirst for more knowledge, as you want to understand the why behind it, then maybe you join a running club, you get a coaching plan by a coach, you join an online coaching community. It feels like there's just steps to it all. And if it means more people in this world are running, I'm all for it. I'm not here to throw shade necessarily, I'm here to share my thoughts. And if you like this video, you're probably also going to like this one, which is a video on how long you should train for a marathon. The answer might surprise you. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you very soon when we have moved to Phuket. Whoop.